Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about perfectionism. Is perfectionism getting in the way of your Amazon business? We're also going to be talking about how to overcome analysis paralysis and how sellers can use the hour of progress strategy to move forward each day. And procrastination. How do you pull yourself out of the rut? I don't know if you've ever been there. I've been there, and it is tough to get yourself out of the rut. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So, welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast. Kelsey, hit the music.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm.
All right. Today, as I mentioned, is perfectionism getting in the way of your Amazon business? Our guest is a master, I was almost going to say procrastinator, but no, he is a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy. He offers a gentle yet direct approach, focusing on patterns that are creating procrastination, distraction, I'm sorry, guys. You know what? I just got back from Prosper. I think I went to bed around 6 a.m. this morning. I'm going to try this all over again. He offers a gentle yet direct approach, focusing on patterns that are creating procrastination, distraction, limitation in his clients' behaviors. And over 50% of his clients right now are fast-growing e-commerce businesses. He also has experience selling and sourcing in Amazon since 2019 and 2020. He's a first-time guest, and I can't wait to talk to him, Cameron Allen. But before we get to it, let's have a word from our sponsor. As you know, at Lunch with Norm, bigger is always better. Bigger business, bigger profits, and yes, bigger lunches. Z wants to make sure that your business and profits are bigger by taking you and your business international. They are a one-stop importer of record shop, including compliance and logistics services. They focus on all the elements involved in a smooth first-time custom clearance so that you can focus on what you're good at, selling. Click on the screen now or follow the link in the description box below and get 50% off your first shipment today. All right. Now let's see where the boy wonder is.
That's me. Hello. How are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. If I do nod off, it's not because you're boring. It's just I'm a little bit tired.
All right. Fair enough. I've heard some things happened in Vegas, so I can sympathize. I hear you.
Oh, and by the way,
yes.
At the last party, which was like 10 parties in, Nary, one of our listeners, I don't know if she's on right now, but she's going back to Korea, and she has given you an open offer to come back to Korea and stay within the block where she lives. So
that would be amazing. I guess for those who don't know, I was an English teacher in Korea for several years. So
even though you don't know English.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know how that worked, but we figured it out. But anyways, welcome everyone. I just want to give a quick shout out to our Beardos or Beard Nation. So welcome Simon, Nick, we've got Rad and Nathan joining us. It's good to see everyone. We're going to be tackling, I think, a great topic today about
I think so too.
And procrastination. And this is something that I think everyone can relate to. So if you have any questions, put them over in the comment sections, and don't forget to smash those like buttons before we get started. And if you're new to the podcast, you can go over to our Facebook group. That's the Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and e-commerce collective. And welcome Claudia as well, a fellow Canadian. It's good to see you. And happy Friday, everyone.
Yeah, Claudia, I think you live in Calgary. I met some people yesterday at the airport heading to Calgary. But anyways, you know what? I can't believe it. After I got back, so I got back really late last night, it was like 10 degrees here, so Celsius. So I was able to actually go out there and have one of those Cuban cigars you gave me. So I was sitting out there for most part by myself, just having a cigar.
It sounds lovely.
It was
really does.
very good.
Yeah.
Anyways, why did I get on that subject? Okay, if you do have any questions or comments, throw it over in the comments section. Look, this is going to be a really great podcast. Perfectionism. I've had it happen to me too. You spend too much time just dwelling on getting it right instead of making sales. So I can't wait to hear what Cameron has to say. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee. I'm actually two-fisting it today. There we go. And welcome, Cameron. Hey there.
Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Good. I didn't do too bad on the introduction. I just woke up a couple hours ago, or about an hour ago. So.
You did wonderful. I think considering your last week, that's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and I have to mention, it's 2 a.m. where you are right now, right?
Yes, it is.
Now you're the trooper, not me.
Well, I think we're both troopers at this point.
So, Cameron, in case I missed out on something, could you just let everybody know, who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. I mean, my actual introduction to entrepreneurship was e-commerce. So I went through the process that I know a lot of people listening are going through, either sourcing a product or have already sourced a product. And so I've always lived in Australia. I've spent some time overseas, but when I started settling down with my two children on the Gold Coast, I was looking at ways of having different streams of income, and one of them was e-commerce. And then once I actually got into entrepreneurship and the I guess roller coaster ride, shall I say, of trying different things and lots of things not working to figure out what does work, I really I kind of, during that process of launching a product on Amazon, I ended up realizing that I wanted to be a business owner full time and not just have side hustles, So but e-commerce didn't end up being the thing that was really gave me that true feeling of fire within. And I ended up that I've actually still got a product that I sell in Australia through some various alternative websites, not the big ones, but and my partner kind of works on that end. But about 2 years into that journey, I realized actually I have always worked with people, and products is not on that sort of style of business wasn't really allowing me to do what I do best. So
right.
I switched over. I've always worked with people on some level in my jobs, and I went overseas and did various community development work overseas in Thailand. And I started getting into the world of personal development. And then once I realized how many things I was doing that I didn't want to do, essentially like self-sabotaging myself, procrastination, all the things we're going to talk about tonight, I realized that all of the answers are usually within us. All of the answers of moving forward and getting results that we see other people getting. It's not about, there are some environmental aspects of our education and all those sorts of things, but a lot of it is that it purely comes from within us, and we can create many things in our life purely based on our own sense of belief. So yeah, I went on a journey, and now every day I help people in a coaching aspect. Over 50% of my clients run e-commerce businesses or are starting e-commerce businesses. So I've got a pretty good handle of what we're talking about here, which is why Megla, who you obviously know, connected us. So yeah, really looking forward to sharing, a bit about some things that people could do to move forward a bit easier.
Okay, so to the listeners, if any of you have felt that you're procrastinating on something, or perfectionism is getting in the way, just let us know, what happened and why. So one of the things you talked about is this roller coaster. And I know this entrepreneurial roller coaster that Michael Gerber talks about in the E-Myth, where you think you're the only person that can do it right. You don't have time to train, and it just costs you to go into this endless cycle of up, down, up, down, up, down until you know how to break it. Is that very similar to what you're talking about with perfectionism?
Yes. And one thing I would say on that is that within us at all times, we have many different forces driving us to do different things. And some of them are obvious why we take action and do certain things and are able to make decisions easy. And some of them are not so obvious. And that's often like subconscious avoidance of doing certain things. And I'll talk about procrastination and all that later, because it's not necessarily about, someone might say, I'm always too busy. I just can't do that task, which is a task they've been talking about that for, too long now. Now, that person may be able to see, well, I don't actually know why I do that, it's very confusing to people, because intellectually, so we've got our conscious and subconscious mind. Consciously, we want to grow, and that's why we would even set a target of running a business like you're running, or like the other listeners are running as in eCommerce. The only reason you would actually have an intention to do that is because of your conscious mind, which is basically the goal setter. So what do I want to do? Oh my God, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And people get inspired. The motivation there is to grow, and our subconscious mind, the motivation is to survive. So we want certainty. We want to know what we're doing each day. We want to go to our job every day and do the same thing and get the paycheck. And, there's many different things: eating, drinking, things that we've done always in the past, we'll continue to do again if we link pleasure to them. The problem is, as an entrepreneur, you would know that not many days are the same. So there's not a lot of certainty. And also in business, you have various different challenges every day that are different to the challenges you faced yesterday. It's not necessarily step by step and straightforward. So there is a lot of uncertainty with running or building a business. So what we can do often is look for certainty. Within that uncertainty, we will try and look for certainty, which is we write the to-do list and we do the things that are comfortable, and the things that aren't, we don't. And then we start a new to-do list with the more things that are comfortable, and we keep leaving the things that aren't comfortable. Some of the reasons why they're not comfortable is obvious, and some of it's really subtle, which is why people end up sort of wanting to talk to me, because they actually don't know why they're not moving forward the way they know they can. So I think we'll talk about that probably a bit more, but basically we're being driven by so many different things within us that perfectionism is basically a byproduct of that. And when we really tap into the bigger driver of our business, the why behind it, the benefits, the deeper benefits to us, then that starts to overcome some of those fears and doubts as well.
I want to just talk about perfectionism with the Amazon sellers or e-com sellers. I've seen a lot of different listings, and I've seen a lot of people that are just waiting. Like I'll look at the listing and I'll just say, oh, the listing's good. All you have to do is this. But it's taken them 6 months to get to this point. Or I've seen people and I use this as an example when I talk about just don't buy so many shiny objects, but it comes down to perfectionism.
Yeah.
I know a guy that went out and he's spending about $3,000 and some odd dollars. Simon, I don't know what that means in sterling, pound, whatever you guys spend over there, euros. But it's $3,000. I think it was $3,200 in tools. And he was also going to this mastermind that I was attending for $12,000. and he still hasn't found his product. Like the
Yeah.
product, well, he has. It was on the water. But I also know people that will go out and attend all these events, all these masterminds,
Yeah.
spend tons of money, and they don't even have a product.
Yeah.
So
This is
what's
very
that all
common.
about? That why is that? Why is
Okay.
it like, yeah, I'd like to
Uh,
get into that. Analysis paralysis.
Absolutely. I mean, I love this topic because usually when I talk about it, the penny drops for a lot of people. They're like, ah, well, that's why. So basically, that's an avoidance of pain. And if depending on what that person's going through or has been through in the past, what we can do as humans is unbelievable. What we'll do is this. We'll say, well, I need the perfect website, I need to go to the perfect seminar, and then I need to go to another seminar, and all of these things that are around what you actually have to do. And the reason is because subconsciously, which is where the things happen that we don't really know about, there's a connection that is painful to launching the product and just doing it, because there are emotional consequences to that. So a lot of people talk about, like, maybe it's fear of failure, right? Everyone, that's a common thing that people think they have a problem with. Oh, I've got a bit of a fear of failure. Now, perfectionism can be a byproduct of fear of failure at a deeper level. Also, it's not necessarily the failure. It could be rejection. It could be shame. This is like a deep at a deeper level. There's this thing of like, maybe I'm not good enough to do this business. So if that's a belief that someone has deep down within them, maybe I'm just not good enough for this. Norm can do it, other people can do it, but I can't do it. But they're not necessarily conscious of that. But if that's a subconscious belief, then the behaviors that we would carry out are, let's do everything else except for what we actually have to do, and convince ourselves that that's what we have to do. We have to go to all these things. But like, Norm, you would know this. How many entrepreneurs do you know that, think of a business and run it, and then it works the first time perfectly?
I don't think so.
Not
It
the
doesn't
case, right?
happen. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
there are those guys.
there's the
And
there's the unicorn. Yeah,
yeah, and they're usually the arrogant ones because they haven't had to get kicked between the legs yet. But
yeah. You have to get kicked in the backside. Like, people, this is the thing. But intellectually, this is what a good topic of conversation is. Like, intellectually, we can read all the books, we can do the course, like your course or someone else's course, and go to the seminar. We can get all the information. But is information enough? No. There's other things going on, especially if someone keeps saying for like a year, no, I need more information. I need to do this other thing, then this other thing, then this other thing, and $20,000 later and no product. There's clearly like an underlying fear there, basically. So before we act in the physical world, as in we're in our body, we're like, I'm gonna do this business, and we act on it. We take action, we move forward. Typically, our emotional state will be the thing that makes us take the action. So if we've got, people say, like, find your why, right? That's emotion. That's like seeing yourself at the beach with your kids, and the benefits of your business. That's emotion. But if there's fear, guilt, shame, rejection, and all sorts of other disempowering emotional states in the way of that, then there's too much distance between the positive emotion, and then you've got all these things that you might launch a product and it might not work, and that person who feels a bit not good enough will then feel even worse. So we're not going to go out into the lion's den, are we? And in the jungle, we're gonna skirt around and say that we need to do this, that, and the other, because there's some kind of link to pain with launching that product, and it not working, losing money, fear of losing money, fear of, what's my partner going to think if I lose this money? But it's as an entrepreneur, as you know, there's no such thing as losing money or failing unless you stop. If you keep going, you haven't lost a thing. You've gained a lot of experience.
But
So yeah,
that's also when if you do lose money, and it'll happen if you're going to be being a true entrepreneur and finding something, going for it, you're going to lose at some point, but it's also going to be a learning experience, and you're going to learn so much from that so you can move forward. The other thing I see a lot, it is the what ifing. So like when I see a product now, and I think it's just because I'm an old guy and I just, oh, that's what I want. Like I am gonna do that. I'm going to achieve that. And you go in with a positive attitude, not with like, oh, I see that. Oh, that's a good niche. I like to check that out. I'll do some competitive analysis. If it makes sense, boom, let's enter into that market. I do not need, although we talk about the perfect website and the perfect social media and the perfect this, and this, I don't need that. I need to get a product in. I have to start selling. But one of the keys to this is to continually evolve. So make your product, like there might be problems, change them. Look what people are saying on your reviews, change it up. And then as you've got the product coming in and you're able to expand, if you made if you had some problems, that's your Amazon tax. Everybody pays it. You're going to pay something. Move forward and get going. If it's a bad product, cut bait, move forward. But what did you learn from that? And that's what I see a lot of people doing is they see all these shiny objects. They listen to my podcast, let's say, and people are talking about the perfect website. It doesn't mean you have to have the perfect website. In the perfect world, hey, there we go. The perfect world, yeah, you can have all these things lined up, but you first got to get your first sale. And that's never going to happen if you have all these things in front of you that you're never going to achieve, especially if it's your first time. And I do know one thing. And this is just my personal experience on Amazon. So I went to ASM, I think it was 3-ish, back in 2014. I saw all these guys on stage. And Amazon, it was the Wild West back then. And I turned to my buddy Riz. We went to there together. And like he's a very successful seller right now. I'm pretty successful. I am pretty successful in selling. And I just said, I'm going to do that. And in fact, I said, Riz, wouldn't it be great if we got to go on stage one day and talk about it? And I was absolutely afraid of talking on stage, by the way, like fear. It was my biggest fear. But both of those things came true because it was that attitude that I'm going to do it. And it's not going to stop me. Like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, you're asking yourself in any moment of decision, we ask ourselves a question. And that question is the answer to that question is usually an empowering one or a disempowering one. So if other people are saying, what if this goes wrong? You're probably saying to yourself something like, how can I get there? Like the stage, right? How can I do it? How can I achieve this? What's the best path to move forward? Now, obviously, most people know that you learn through experience. You just go in and launch a product, no matter what it is, and you bear the consequences that you may lose a few $1,000s by going through that process. Now, if people have the expectation that it's going to be working straight away, right? So our expectations will create our reality. And if our expectations are that it needs to work the first time, then yeah, you're going to be clinging on to making sure everything's all good. When really, we all know that you have to accept that possibly won't work, and you're going to refine things. You're going to listen to those reviews. You're going to go through the whole journey, learn, and then go again or tweak. And a lot of the reason why people can't do that is often due to something that's happened in their childhood, right? For example, speaking, you now obviously speak. You're speaking to me publicly. Public speaking is in line with fear of death. It's almost as feared as death, speaking. And the reason for that is because as children, we had an experience that we linked a lot of pain to being humiliated or being bullied or someone laughing at us, etc. And that stuck with us for our whole life. And now subconsciously, we're just like, I just will avoid that forever. So obviously you went through probably a bit of pushing or a bit of a process to realize that actually there's way more benefits to speaking and public speaking than there are consequences. And we can go through that process. You might have gone through that process over a year, or I don't know, but I don't actually know. But some people take 5 years to go through that process of realizing that actually launching a product and just figuring it out, that's actually a good thing. I know the positive consequences to that now, so that's easy. But it's the problem is the time it takes to change our beliefs, and the time it takes to realize that I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm not going to die if I launch a product and it's not perfect the first
Let's
time.
back up a little bit there, just for a second, Cameron. It's okay to lose money if you have the money to lose.
Yeah.
Because there are people that are gamblers. Now, I don't look at selling on e-commerce as a gambler. I take a look at it as, you're making a decision to move forward with something, and I have a set of rules. It's like trading. Okay. If you've ever day traded or if you're ever in the market, if you follow a specific set of rules, you're okay. The first time that you let those rules go, you're probably not so okay. And that's the same thing when you are when you don't have the money. If you don't have the capital to enter the game, don't do it. Wait a few months. So
Absolutely.
yeah, anyways, I just wanted to talk about that.
I agree. And obviously emotion drives decisions.
Mhm.
So if you're trading and you've got rules, then you're taking the emotion out of it. But if it becomes fear of missing out and, oh my goodness, I heard this news and, oh, quick, I'll break that rule, that's emotion. And it usually doesn't lead to a very
Right.
good place in that situation. Similar to what you just said. Yeah, you've got to really understand where you're at as well.
Well, I got a break for a second, but when we come back, you were talking earlier to Kelsey about the hour of progress strategy.
Mm.
And I want to talk about that in just in a second. We do have a giveaway today, and the giveaway is fantastic. So this isn't a sales pitch. This isn't, this is Cameron taking 45 minutes of his time, and you're going to fill in a form, and he's going to guide you or direct you in the path you need to be to, break that perfectionism routine. Is that correct, Cameron?
That is right.
So it's fantastic. Plus, everybody who's on the call, if you're listening to this call, there is a free master course that Cameron is giving away today as well. So Kelsey's going to put it into the comment section. Just go there. You're not going to be hounded for anything. It's just go and take the course, and then we're going to give away the Centurion League as well. So I think this is a really great, unique opportunity to get some help. So it's one lucky winner is going to get that. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you get a second entry. Let's see. Kelsey, how about a commercial? A big thank you to our sponsor, Startup Club, the largest club on Clubhouse with over 790,000 members and growing. They're one of the world's largest communities supporting the startup ecosystem, from founders to those wishing to work for a startup and everything in between. You can find them at www.startup.club for blogs, recordings, and a calendar of upcoming shows, and on the Clubhouse app. Just search Startup Club for daily shows 24/7. You can also now listen to their show, the Serial Entrepreneur Club podcast, on Apple and Spotify too. Stop by to connect, learn, and grow together. All right. So, Kevin, if I know there's so much to talk about, and I've got all these questions to ask you, but I'm not sure if you've completed what your thoughts were on that, or if we can move on to that hour of progress, because that sounded really interesting.
Yeah, I'll share that in a second. I guess I just also want to say, like, sometimes when people realize that, oh wow, I could have moved forward quicker, I'm really holding myself back, and I'm putting things off that I know I should do. A lot of people get down on themselves, and the self-talk, the negative self-talk, is actually the problem. Not necessarily. It's still, there's still two problems there. There's the not doing things, and also there's the self-talk of, why'd you do that? You should have done it quicker. Look at everyone else. Like, all of these words that we hear in our mind are obviously not helpful. So people listening, just all I wanted to say was, like, be easy on yourself, because if you're having a avoidance of certain tasks, and you need to get to the bottom of that, it's not going to take, sort of negatively thinking of yourself. That's really not the answer. And sometimes we do that automatically. We could have done better, we could have done this, and look at the time we've wasted. But that's also negative tension. It's like this anchor on your back pulling you down. So the other thing I would say, if people really want a sort of a bit of a tool here to use to sort of identify something, is if you're doing that thing that we were talking about, which is like getting all the perfect courses and all the perfect ducks lined up and not actually doing what you need to do, ask yourself this question: what's the emotional consequence of just making a decision, choosing the supplier, ordering it, and maybe that doesn't work out? Maybe it actually doesn't work out. How do you feel inside? Because it's different for everyone. It's different for everyone. But that, all I would say is this: that feeling is linked to your past. The only way you have that feeling is because it's similar to something that has happened many years ago, maybe a year ago. It doesn't matter when. Often in childhood, we have lots of different experiences that have an emotional intensity of shame and guilt and things like that. At school, we have all sorts of experiences. So that pain, that emotional consequence, could be linked to several different events in your life. And if you know where they are, if you know where they come from, then you're on the path to changing it, because you've got awareness then.
I remember when I actually had hair, so it goes back many, many, many decades. But but when I started out in business, and I didn't know anything, I knew nothing, and things went wrong, it would hit me so hard. And then not only would it hit me hard, but then like I've had small things, like a product failure, but that's not such a big deal. But a company failure, oh my God, like it was the worst. And then you're thinking all these major negative thoughts, which is, making you depressed. But one thing my mentor told me was, it will never be as bad as you think. No matter what you think, it will never be that bad. And I always think about that all the time. So if I think it's, oh man, think of the worst, a bankruptcy or whatever. The world is crashing around you. You've got 7 years of no credit. Oh, what do you do? Well, you get through it and you'll find ways to do it. Well, this is right now, if I had a product failure, like stuff I had sleepless nights over, total serious, like awful depression. Right now, if it ever happened to me again, I would just, oh, a product failed. Okay, let's move to the next one. Oh, company failed. All right, let's move to the next one.
Yeah, and
You know,
you obviously had a good mentor there. You had a really good mentor.
I got,
and
yeah, I
it's
do. I have great mentors. Yes.
it's good, and that's a part of what I teach people. You can't be dependent on your own thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's what people do. I'll do it myself. I'll try and do this all myself. And it doesn't cost you $1 million to go and try and get in the room with certain people who think differently. And what your mentor said to you, and this is it's a good segue actually, because you you had an experience, right? I had a client that also had a company fail, right? And I had to do a lot of work with him because he was in a new company now that he had started, but it was at the point where he had to employ people. And I was like, hey, mate, what are you doing? You need to employ people now or yesterday, because you're going to be working 24-hour days soon, because his demand was just so high. Digital marketing. And then I said, what happened in your last business when your business went down? And he said, well, I hired 2 people and they basically went behind his back and ruined his business basically. So in his mind, psychologically, he linked employing people with, oh, that ruins your business.
Hmm.
That was a belief he created based on that last experience. So I did some coaching with him, obviously, to help him realize that just because that happened, that's not the meaning. That's not a permanent meaning. But subconsciously, he had created that. So, like, it's the same as perfectionism. He linked pain to employing someone. So therefore, I'll just do it on myself because it's going to be perfect. It's going to be good if I do it on myself. And we have all these rules and beliefs within our subconscious that we don't necessarily know about, and they pull us in different directions. And I think that's a really good example. And it sounds like what happened when your mentor said, "Hey, what did he say again? It's never going to be as bad as."
It's never going to be as bad as you think.
Yeah,
And it's so true.
yeah. So those things that used to drown you, or like really weigh you down, of like, oh my god, why did this happen? You said you had sleepless nights.
Literally.
Yeah, so that's the power of having a good mentor, but because he's given you some new information, and then you've changed the meaning in your mind. Well, if something goes wrong, it's probably not going to be that bad.
Right.
So
But
with that new meaning, you feel better.
one of the things though, and you're talking, you said it a bit earlier about changing a habit. But if I were to go into the same business model or act the same way, then I would be, I don't want to say stupid, but I have to change. So you have to act differently. If you go into something and say, oh, I'm going to go and use the same product techniques or product research techniques, I'm going to do the same thing with the training. And this goes back to Michael Gerber again. You don't train your VAs properly. You yell at them because they're not trained properly and they do something wrong. You fire them to take all that back. But that's just because you're not learning a different
Yeah,
way of doing things. So
yeah,
it is
yeah,
a different pattern.
yeah. And typically humans will usually, if we experience pain, we will avoid that pain, right? So the guy who had the bankruptcy in the company, or the company go down,
That's me.
that's you as well. Yeah, they're good stories, right? But his pain was in hiring people. Oh, when I hired people, the company went under. That's a rule. That's a very fine line rule, and it's not going to get anyone anywhere, because if you're growing a company, you have to have people. Like I've spoken to 3 people, I think, in preparation for this podcast. Like I haven't talked to you once until now, So obviously it requires some systems and it requires people. So that's what I said to that guy. Like, you're going to burn out if you don't. But yeah, if we experience some level of pain, then usually we will change our behavior. So like you said, if someone launches a product and then they try to do the next one the exact same way, well, you're going to get the same result. But typically we won't do that. Typically, if the first experience was painful enough, then we'll look for new answers.
Just at Prosper, we were talking just beforehand. So I went to Prosper the last couple of days, and I was with Kevin King, who's a guest here, and we went out to this restaurant, and a friend of mine, Isabella Hamilton, was there, and we got on this whole mindset thing. She's really into mindset, and one of the things we started talking about is, you ever notice that when things aren't going your way, or you start to feel down, that's typically when you get sick. And then the entrepreneur that has to get things done, I mean, you have to get them done, and you've got this healthy mindset, you rarely get sick.
Absolutely.
It's bizarre how your mind thinks, and then
Yeah.
like I'm sorry, I'm going to go down a completely different rabbit hole, but
No,
I never
I
thought
like
about this.
That's fine.
So Isabella's sitting there and goes, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right or not, but people that have multiple personalities, that one of the personalities that could come up could be a diabetic. So in the personality, they're diabetic, or they have, her example was psoriasis. Okay. But when they flip over to a different personality, they're no longer a diabetic. So the body heals itself,
Yeah.
or they don't have psoriasis. How the heck does that happen?
Yeah.
And anyways, we went down we talked for a long time on that. But
yeah, I could too. Because,
yeah,
well, like with the entrepreneur example, if you know where you're going, right? If you know where you're going and you push through your fears and rewire your mind to be like, actually, I know all this stuff's going on in my mind that's trying to take me in different directions, but nah, I'm going this way. That's what happened to me 3 years ago. When I transitioned from e-commerce to my coaching business, once I really caught on to, oh my goodness, I'm here to do this. And then, yeah, getting up at 2 a.m. for a podcast is easy. Getting up at 4 a.m. to do a morning routine and work on my business when I was still in my job, side hustle. It was a side hustle for a while. That was easy because the energy of knowing where you're going and not having all the fear and all the other stuff go on, the beliefs that changed, and you're going that way, you're focused on the future. You're focused on where you're going and you're emotionally connected to that. That's why people don't get sick, because there's no time and space to watch the news and be like, oh my God, there's this thing going around, or talking to people, oh, he's sick too. People start to focus on it, and also they're not aligned with what they're meant to be doing in this world. If you're connected to your truth and you can feel that, then you're moving through time and space easily and effortlessly, rather than fragmenting your way through. And then there's time to get sick because you're feeling heavy. When you're feeling, I mean, you must have it like you're doing what you want to do. Kelsey said you started this podcast around COVID, and it became this cool thing. You set up a studio. I mean, you're clearly connected to what you're doing here.
Kelsey set it up. I just sit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good. You love what you're doing, right? I saw some of you. I went to your website. I saw some of your videos just to get an idea of exactly what you guys are doing, and you love teaching, obviously, and helping others. And there's something about that that's connected to your truth. So there's no time for getting sick. You're just doing your thing.
Right. You like for this podcast, and I think the only times that we've missed it is when we're on a bloody ship, but you have to be there, right? Like I told you, like I just woke up.
Yeah.
I would have liked to sleep in a couple more hours, and you're at 2 a.m. It's probably 3-ish now, but you just got to do it. But it's not hard to do if you love what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I always I told the kids that too. Follow what you want to do. And if you love what you're doing, it really isn't too tough to wake up and get going in the morning.
Yeah. Exactly. And another thing I'd quickly say is some people might get the idea of doing a podcast, like Lunch with Norm. Great idea. every Friday at lunchtime. Like it's seamless. You know what to do. You know what to expect. But a lot of people will do this. They'll be like, "Oh, but I'm a nobody. Oh, I've got no following," and they get focused on what's missing rather than what's possible. That's what I was talking about before. Like, people are asking themselves usually the wrong question.
Right.
Oh, why don't I have the following yet? Or maybe no one's going to listen. That's what they're literally asking themselves. When really, if you do a podcast like this and you're consistent with it every Friday for 2 years, I mean, people are going to start listening. You just have to be more connected to the future than what might be missing now.
Right. Right. Exactly. I like to touch on self-sabotage because that's another area that I see. I can't diagnose people, but I take a look at people and they should be winning. And
Mhm.
yet, what they get, and these are even friends of mine that I see they're there and then they don't make it. And then they get there and they don't make it. And it's usually typically it's kind of the same reason. I hear the same excuses.
Yep,
Let's
absolutely.
let's talk about
Okay.
self-sabotage. Why?
Yeah, you mentioned before, if people are they have split personalities,
Mhm.
which we all do to some degree, by the way. We all act in line with our little personality in different situations. When things don't go our way, we might act overwhelmed or frustrated, and then we have little personalities. So we also have identity. Identity is, if we see ourselves as someone who's always probably going to have a job and we're probably always going to struggle, and we identify with that, then even if we're on the verge of success and we have a lot of conviction over our old identity, because that's just how it's always been, subconsciously, by the way, because intellectually we're going to be like, no, I want success. I
Yeah.
want this to work. And then they're on the verge of that and they're self-sabotage because they don't identify as that person. That's as simple as it is, and it's not easy to really fully digest in a short period of time here with you. But at the basic level, if you still identify and your identity is wrapped up in struggling or working 9 to 5 and getting a paycheck, and that's the safe way to live, and that's your identity, then there's going to be all sorts of avoidance of getting certain things in your life, right?
Very
I,
good. Yeah.
I'll give you a quick example. I've got a client at the moment who does cryptocurrency trading, and he self-taught. He was a brickie, like he was building houses, tradie his
I
whole
was
life.
wondering what the heck a brickie was.
Yes, that's an Australian.
Okay. All right. I got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So someone who builds houses. We got the lingo, Australian lingo. So, and then 5 years ago, he started cryptocurrency trading, self-taught,
Yeah.
and then because he did so well, he started a Facebook group, and that grew to 50,000 people. So
Wow.
then he started teaching how to cryptocurrency trade, and now he makes a lot of money through his membership, like over $30,000 a month, I think, just from the membership.
Wow.
And I said to him, what's stopping you from going to the next level? And once we actually got into the coaching session, he realized that he didn't even see himself as this successful entrepreneur. 5 years later, his old identity was still playing out, being like, no, you're just a builder. You build houses. And he was still identifying that with that on some level. Now, what does that do to someone? Well, they start behaving in line with that, as in he had a lot of opportunities in his inbox. He was not even seeing, he wasn't even opening. That's how powerful your identity is. Literally,
Yes.
there were big opportunities to speak on stages, he was offered an opportunity to give guidance to a new blockchain company worth 6 figures, like serious opportunities. And because of his identity, I just helped him, make a lot of money and get a lot of opportunities because I helped him shift that, like it's gone now. That old part of yourself is gone now. You're a very successful entrepreneur now, and sometimes people need to be reminded of that they can change and they will change.
All right. So we're going to have you back because there's a ton of questions I had listed here, and we're not even going to touch on them because we've got a bunch of questions that are already.
No worries.
Yeah. Let's see, Kelsey. I think we have 7
Do you want me to
questions.
touch on the hour of power or
Oh yeah. So let's touch on that, and then we'll get over to the questions.
Yeah. Okay. So I've actually got a PDF I can share with you and your listeners afterwards if you want.
Okay, perfect.
So basically, if people are in a rut or struggling, or they're feeling that thing of like, yeah, I like my business idea, I know what it's going to give me, but it feels too far away, and they're not doing the things they need to do. A very simple thing you can do. It doesn't have to be in first thing in the morning. I like to do it first thing in the morning, but any time of the day, if people are just putting things off, procrastinating, all that sort of stuff, if you can just commit to this one thing, then you'll have a business in 6 months, 12 months time, and you'll be making progress. So if people commit to this one thing, which is it's committing to 1 hour a day of progress, because as you might know, what keeps us happy in life isn't like a big win. You must have had some big wins in your entrepreneurial journey where something went really well and a lot of money came in or something. That's not actually what gives us the most fulfillment. It's making progress that does. Moving forward feels really good. No matter where we're at, we like to move forward. So this hour is about moving forward, basically. So what it is the first 20 minutes is either a meditation or writing or reflecting on why you are doing your business. So 20 minutes to connect into why you're doing what you're doing. And then, so that could be meditating. It could be journaling. It could be visualizing, or it could be anything that people like to do. But 20 minutes, phone off, and you are connecting into why you're doing your business. And then after that, 20 minutes to watch, listen, or read something that inspires action and motivation. Once again, like I said before, you had a good mentor, right? Who changed your thinking.
Right.
A good video, like you offer trainings. If people are in your trainings, then spend 20 minutes just watching a module or watching a training or a replay of a Zoom session to get your thoughts in the mindset of what you're actually meant to be doing. Now, I know there's going to be people listening right now who are like, wow, that's 40 minutes. Maybe that's a waste of time, or that's too long. But hey, if you were procrastinating before this hour of progress, then it's better than anything, because the last 20 minutes of this is achieving one task. So that's as simple as it is. So I do it the night before I go to bed. I'll write, okay, what is it? What am I going to do for that one task? It could be a big thing or a little thing. But what that's allowed me to do is have the compound effect in business. That one task may seem small, and I do lots of other things during the day. But hey, when I started, I was putting stuff off. I was not taking action the way I did. And what I found was to have a dedicated hour where you guarantee that every single day you're going to at least do that one thing, at least, and you will not stray from that. So yeah, connect into your why, connect into why you're doing what you're doing, and then watch, listen, or read something that inspires motivation, and then achieve one task. So 20 minutes on each. If people say that they're really strapped for time, you could just do 10 minutes on each. 10 minutes on each, and you get one thing done guaranteed every day, and that the compound effect over a period of time will be profound.
Yeah, I've told the kids always. What I told the kid was slightly different, but we're on the same path. Spend an hour on your time each day. Like, become it, and over a period of 1 year, you read or you do whatever it is to become e-commerce expert. You will be that e-commerce expert in 1 year, doing 1 hour a day. And it's similar to you. You broke it up a little bit differently, but it's the exact same concept.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's so simple, right?
Yeah.
But
A
are
lot of
people going to
people-
do it? A lot of people listening
people
right
won't.
now, are they going to do it?
Well,
I
not
hope.
I hope so too. I mean, but if we're not aware of our thoughts, then our thoughts and our subconscious program will take us usually to do what we've always done.
Yeah.
That's why these podcasts are powerful, and people need to do personal development and work on themselves to realize that some of those things aren't real. Some of the things they say to themselves won't get them to where they're going to go.
25 years ago, I had a partner, and this motivation or becoming an expert, like I was into, and I still am into motivational stuff, like Brian Tracy, like all these guys, right?
Yeah.
And so I walked in the office and I said, "Oh, I just listened to this really great motivational tape. I mean, it got me inspired to like succeed." And so I gave him some quote, and he goes, "Here, come with me. I'll show you what motivates me to succeed." Get into his car. We go down. We go to a BMW dealer. He takes out this BMW 7 Series. He goes, "This is what I need to succeed." But again, it's visualizing what he wanted to do, and he's a very successful guy right now. But anyways, it was a different approach.
Yeah, and success means different people, different things to different people, and there's no right or wrong. I think that's great. Like the effort to drive you down there and say, "Hey, this is why." That's obviously a big force. And the
Right.
people who usually succeed have something. They have something at the end of the tunnel that means more to them than any shame or guilt or fear that is in the way. And through challenges, they'll be pulled through those challenges to bit by that greater force, whether it's a BMW or um, people who have health issues, and then they're told by their doctor, if you don't change this, you may die.
Right.
Right? They will start being healthy
Yep.
because the thing that's pulling them now is literally life or death. So I've seen entrepreneurs do the same thing, but they're not going to die. But they treat their work like life or death. So the bigger the meaning you're giving this journey, and how important it is to you, will pull you through those challenges.
That's such a great point. Yeah. Thank you, Cameron. So let's get to some of these questions.
Okay, so
Hey,
a lot of
by the way, Kelsey, thanks
Yes.
for getting those spammers off of there.
yeah,
Holy
I don't know
geez.
what's happening on YouTube, but we're getting hit with a ton of spammers, so I'm
Oh,
just
wow.
trying to report them and get them off. But yeah, we actually have a lot of comments too. So we have some questions, but I think this episode is bringing out a lot of comments and people relating to this episode. So
Great.
if you are listening, there's still time if you want to share a thought to other listeners about your experience selling, or I had a question on here asking, what piece of advice would you give your younger self going into business? So if you have any answers to that, let us know, but I'll just go through some questions first. From Claudia, this is a two-parter. My son and I have been trying to get this going for over 2 years now. We find products that look good, but something always seems to happen and we end up scrapping the product. Then having to look for a new product. This has happened many times now and it is very frustrating. I don't know if it's the fear is hijacking us or not. What advice can you offer us to get going? Thank you.
Yeah. So there's within all situations, there's going to be elements of what I'm talking about here today, and also reality.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to deny reality on here, that certain things will happen with suppliers and maybe the data's not coming in of the sales for a certain niche or something like that. There will be things going on, but there will always be fear. I don't know if this answers Claudia's question, but fear is how we survive. It's what has kept us alive for however many thousands of years. Because if we didn't have fear, we would walk out onto a road. If we didn't, you get the point, right? So it serves a purpose. But if if Claudia obviously feels like this has been taking too long, so there will be an element of fear there for sure. And what I would say is, when you think about just getting something, let's just say some of these products that you've been finding, the next one you find, you have no negotiation with yourself. There's no negotiation. It's launching, unless something goes drastically wrong with the supplier. But you are getting that product, even if it's a small amount. Now, I want you to actually think about, how would it feel? How would it feel inside if you did that and it didn't work, so to say, which isn't actually true. But if there's a perception of it needs to either work or not work, then there's got to be a pain point of it not working. And if you find out what the emotional consequences for you, then you might find your beliefs, because if you do that exercise, just a very simple exercise, you might start to think, wow, it's because I feel like maybe I'm not good enough to do this. And that judgment might come from a parent, or it might come from a teacher at school that you heard over and over again. So then now that you have that awareness, you can go on a journey of change, and that change can be quick, or it can be, it could take a little bit of digging with someone to realize that you're not that person anymore. You are good enough. You are worthy of this. And some of those fears can be dissolved. That's probably as much as I could say on a general sense to that. Yeah.
Right. And on the win or lose side for the Amazon, like the actual product, that's a topic for another conversation. But one of the things you should be looking at is, it could be launch strategy, it could be the optimization. There's probably something there that you're overlooking at the same time. So anyways, I'm not sure when or how, but Claudia, it'd be interesting to check out your product and just see what there is. I mean, if you want to just DM me, I wouldn't mind just taking a look at it. I don't know how much time I can spend on it, but I could just give you a quick couple of tips if you like.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point there, because there's going to be things going on strategically that need to be looked at as well.
And sometimes the products that people like, I don't know if Claudia's in the supplement market or into some of these markets that require a ton of capital. Maybe it's just being undercapitalized and not launching properly. I don't know, but we could check into that.
Okay, so the next one is more of a tip from Simon that I think could help. Simon says, I find that some tasks are so monumental, and I know that I need to break it down in smaller chunks, but sometimes I just can't take that first step. I'll find something easier to do. Yeah, any comments on this, breaking down tasks? Is there any
totally
tips you can offer?
I mean, you need to cut anything complex. We humans will avoid anything that's complicated, basically. So if I said to you, Nom, hey, there's this new business, it's an Amazon FBA business, and you've just got to do this, then this, then this, then this, and I rattled off all the things you've got to do. I mean, and all the different complications and the data and all that. It's too complicated, right? We like to simplify things. So my company is called Kasi, and I have the Kasi method. One of the steps of the Kasi method is to simplify. So simplify your business, simplify the path forward, simplify the steps you need to take. Because once you do that, if you're still not taking those little steps, then it's easy for me to see very clearly where the pain points are for that person. So breaking things down, totally, I totally agree with that. And if you're still not taking action with a simple path laid out, then it's time to figure out why.
Okay, and we have a couple comments from Jessica Rabbit. She says, meditation is more magical to opening up your creativity and focus than can easily be described. It's profound, worth the time. We all deserve that short respite to reconnect with ourselves. Jessica also says it's very helpful to have people in your environment that celebrate your small successes along the way too. So yeah, community is huge. I know with our community here with Lunch with Norm, I see people sharing their thoughts, and it doesn't have to be our community necessarily. There's tons of great communities out there that match your energies, but I just want to say from my side, just having our own members being able to talk to, I know I've talked to several on the side just from my side of things too, so it's always been helpful. Even from being a producer from the podcast, it's been great.
I think environment is, when we talked about identity before, one of the key things you need to do to change your identity is environment. If you're around people who are on a similar path to you, then your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, they will change just from being around those people. You will take on the values and the beliefs of those people around you. So if you are consistently with certain people, then that's a great way to, it's very simple, but it's a great way to shift things.
Right. All right, Kels.
Okay. I'm just trying to see if I've any other major comments from Cool Hand. Developing a growth mindset has changed my life and has been the driving force behind my entrepreneurial journey. No matter the struggle, we have two choices: solve the issue or quit. And then we've got, I'll just read the last couple of comments because it is past the hour mark and I know it is very late for Cameron. But from Jerry, Norm, I'd like to add something. I learned being around you, what the mind can conceive, you can achieve if you believe. And he also says time and money or both is an issue for many. Do you have any thoughts on how to break out of this limiting belief?
Okay. Time and money is very general topics. There's the thing with beliefs are they're very specific to each person as well. So within money, there might be a specific thing about money that people don't believe is possible, or it might be a more general thing of like, I've never got enough money. Now, what Norm said before, right, was I think it was to Claudia, was, let me check your product. You could be undercapitalized. So it's knowing where you're at. And as an entrepreneur, this is what I've learned. I don't know about you, Norm, but like, there's actually money is a limiting belief for sure, because you can always do something. If you're depending on your position, yeah, you might not be able to do a $20,000 launch on Amazon and be able to afford that. But if you've got a few thousand or something, you can figure it out. And an example of this is I was volunteering in Thailand a few years ago, and I had limiting beliefs. I was like, well, I can't afford it anymore. I can't afford to just keep volunteering. And when I got back to Australia, a couple of my friends who were in corporate were like, well, we would have sponsored you to stay for that year. And it really stuck with me, because I was like, wow, I just didn't see that. I didn't think to write proposals and, get funding for my own volunteering endeavors. There's always ways, right? So that there are ways to get money, or there's ways to just build a business within the situation you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and our final comment that we'll read before we go to the Wheel of Kelsey from Marcia. Power of positive thinking is always needed when working with Amazon. One of our Beard Nation buddies just broke out of Amazon prison yesterday after 11 months of unjust incarceration. No limiting beliefs allowed. Thank you, Marcia. Okay, so that about wraps it up for today.
Okay, so but before we go over to the wheel, Cameron, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so there's a few ways. Obviously, Facebook, they can follow my business page. I think I gave the link to that, and then my website is karsi.com.au. So .au. I assume most of your listeners are in America, but karsi.com.au, and that's where I've put that free masterclass as well that you were talking about before. So that's an hour session on some exercises around procrastination.
Fantastic. Okay, so before we get to the Wheel of Kelsey, Hit the button, Kelsey. Meet Sellerize, our favorite suite of tools for Amazon sellers. Leverage 19 innovative tools to dominate your competition on Amazon. Get your customer reviews, rank higher, track and analyze profit in real time. Sellerize is what you need to make data-driven decisions and give your business a boost. Get a free month trial by signing up with a coupon Beard Nation. Follow the link in this episode's description and get started now. Okay, so we're back. You've never experienced the wheel of Kelsey, huh?
Me, no.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Just wait.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right.
The wheel is a little extra, but we like it here over at the Lunch with Norm Studios. Courtesy of my older brother Hayden. So thank you for the music and the graphics.
The producer for the people.
Producer of the people. Yeah. All right. So we're giving away a 45-minute coaching session with Cameron, and then we're also giving away, along with that, Centurion membership. That is Norm's private mentorship Amazon e-commerce group with Tim Jordan. So we're going to be bundled up. This is only for if you are not currently a member too. So if you're already a member, this won't apply, but you'll still get Cameron's coaching session. So we'll shuffle this up and give it a spin. All right. So if you are the winner, please email me k@lunchwithnorm.com. And it looks like the winner.
Ooh, Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica
All right,
Rabbit.
Roz.
All right, that is our lovely Roz from Florida. All right, and we have all the information, so this one should be easy to connect you. And yeah, that's it for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right, Cameron. Well, thank you for coming on. So I got down to like 3 questions. There's still about 9 left, so we'll have to have you back on.
Absolutely no worries. I love this.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Cameron, for being on.
No worries at all.
All right, see you later.
Thanks, everyone.
You're very welcome. All right, everybody. I hope you like today's episode. If you do, let us know. We'll bring a lot more of this type of content your way. On Wednesday, we've got and I actually just met Michael Jackness at the Prosper show, but he's coming on. We had booked him in, and so it was just kind of a coincidence, but he is going to be on. He's a really great guy, and we're going to be talking about how to launch without rebates, okay? Without rebates and giveaways. So looking forward to that on Wednesday. Let's see, Kels, what do you got to say?
Yeah, I also just wanted to thank Andy. He was the one that put me in contact with Michael Jackness. He said he was a great guest, or he's been watching him on other podcasts. So thank you, Andy, for the recommendation.
What?
And Andy's actually been giving...
Andy's watching other podcasts?
I know, he's a traitor. But we do appreciate it. If there are topics, like Simon, you said, more of this stuff, Norm. If there's topics that you guys have in mind, if there's things you want to hear, if there's people you want us to talk to, let us know. We truly want to make this show the best for you. So if you have any ideas, send those over to k@lunchwithnorm.com, and we'd be happy to see what we can. Even I think the topic idea too is from a Beard Nation member who wanted to learn how to launch outside of rebates and giveaways. So yeah, and congratulations, Jessica Rabbit. Fantastic and rad. Thank you so much, everyone who has been listening. We've got a lot of great comments, and I think everyone really did appreciate this episode. And yeah, if you are not part of the podcast already, our community, you can go over to our Facebook group. That's Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and eCommerce Collective. Thank you, Jerry. Much appreciated. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, Jerry.
If you are interested in learning more, we can only cover so much during these podcasts, but if you want actionable steps, guest lessons, Q&A sessions with me and Norm, you can join our membership program on our Lunch with Norm website.
Thank you, Simon.
Lunch with Norm does not suck. Thank you. We should put that across the website.
Yeah, that's our new motto.
But anyways, that's just the Lunch with Norm website. You can click the membership button and you'll be able to check it all out. And I think that's it from me.
All right. So join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Thank you. Thank you, Beard Nation. It's an awesome community. We could really not do this without you, and have a great rest of your, oh my gosh, I was going to say week, but weekend. How's that?
Yeah.
Enjoy your Friday and have a great weekend.
Lunch with Norm.